I don't understand what awakening is. Can you explain it to me in clear terms? Occasionally, I'll get this request from someone who has read a lot about awakening or listened to videos about awakening, but still feels like they don't get it. They don't understand exactly what it is. Sometimes someone will hear a preliminary lecture or talk on it and ask me a similar question, or say that whatever I'm talking about, I'm talking around it instead of just saying what it is. As if I would just say it in plain words, they would understand it and it would happen for them. So sometimes I get these types of questions and it's really tricky to navigate because I can tell that this person asking the question is not really getting that I'm pointing to something outside of their intellect, outside of their conceptual framework. It's as if they're looking at a puzzle on their internal movie screen and the pieces fit together nicely because of all the concepts they've learned. And if there's a missing piece, they find another concept and make it fit nicely there and just keep building this framework of understanding about life or about any specific topic. But when it comes to awakening, they don't have the pieces and they feel uncomfortable because they're not able to construct this puzzle to give themselves a mental image of what awakening is. And of course, that's really the whole point. I don't want to give you a mental image of it. I don't want to explain it to you in a way that you understand. In fact, I can't explain it to you in a way that you fully understand. And if I did, I would be doing you a disservice. So what I'm really doing is I'm misusing language. I'm using language in a way that it's not particularly meant for. And that is to point you back to investigate directly what it is that's doing the thinking, what it is that's assembling those thoughts, what it is that feels comfortable when the thoughts are in perfect order and the understanding is like a clear patchwork of concepts and ideas. I actually want to break that patchwork up for you. I want to show you that there already are missing pieces, and there have been for a long time. They're just being conveniently overlooked. And I want to show you so closely that you start to see that there are many pieces missing. In fact, you can't even tell what the pieces are made out of. You don't even know where they're coming from, where those thoughts are arising, who is aware of the thoughts. Until you can tell me that, what is the point of believing any thought? So awakening is about going back to the source in your direct experience on the arising of, clinging to, and pushing and pulling on thoughts. What is doing the pushing? What is doing the pulling? Who desires? Who wants to know the answer? Who feels frustrated that they don't know what awakening is? Who is that? If your mind answers it by saying, me, then ask yourself, who's aware of that thought? Can you stop thinking? If you can't stop thinking, those thoughts are involuntary, so they're not what you are. They're just like mental noise. So who's aware of that mental noise? What is the space in which that mental noise is occurring? What's pulling and pushing on the individual thoughts, the individual concepts or beliefs? Who's holding the strings? That's where I want you to look. I can't explain what awakening is because it's not a thing that exists in that patchwork of ideas, concepts, and beliefs. It's so much bigger. It's so much more primary. It's so much more instinctually obvious and doubtless. This is what makes it possible to even know. It's what makes it possible to be conscious at all. It's the root of self, the root of being. This is what I'm pointing to when I'm talking about awakening. When you start noticing the puzzle pieces don't quite fit together right, when you notice that some teachers say it this way and some teachers say it that way, and you think you're going to pick the right teacher and use their teaching because you think you have the right one, you're often mistaken. The truth is, the reason they say it different ways, the reason their descriptions don't exactly match, is because they're pointing to something that is non-conceptual. So be willing to experience the non-conceptual right now. What is not a concept in your experience right now? What is something that is not a thought in your experience right now? What is something that you can confirm in your experience right now without thinking about it or labeling it? Rest there. Rest in the disarming. Rest in the ongoing unbinding of mind attention. Rest in the unknowing. Rest in the relief from having to know, to understand, to continue to frantically build that patchwork so that you don't feel frustration, so that you don't feel confusion. Let those emotions come and still stay in the non-conceptual. Stay in the space of pure knowing that never becomes an object. Pure I, or just exactly what you are right now before your mind moves. Stay there. Be willing to unbind. Be willing to look in no specific direction. Be willing to forego all conclusions right now, because conclusions are limitations. Conclusions are thoughts. But you remain, or something remains. So remain there, in that something. Let everything else fall. Let everything else dissolve. Just this moment. It doesn't need to be described or labeled. It has no specific texture. It has no specific direction. There's no need to describe it. You don't need to catch it. And it can't be missed. Just stay right here. This is where the magic happens.